As you can tell, I have a lot of work to still do to the car, mainly two-tone paint the bumper. It still needs some sanding. That some of this stuff is still kind of rough, and there's a big knot that right here that I have to fill with Bondo. It's hardly noticeable, but I'll notice it, so that makes all the difference. Let's see if I can one hand. Talented. Let's see. Get this in here. Sorry about seeing the top of everything. You don't want to. So basically, everything has pretty much been gutted out from under here. I have the wannabe Gretty intake manifold put together. This piece was a pain in the ass to put in, but I got it in. One thing to note about this intake in particular is often these holes that they drill are, first of all, you got to realize this is aluminum and they give you stainless steel fittings. There's a problem with that, in that if you try to over tighten these suckers, you're going to strip out your threads. I didn't have a problem with it, but I did have one problem on this bottom hole here, which kind of sucks because this is an odd thread, so you're not going to be able to get die and tap kit for this particular hole. You actually have to buy that separate from the kit. I have the idle air control valve all connected down here. I have the coolant rail put on with RTV. I'm not bringing the PCV valve back to this, so all these holes are going to go for something else. You got map sensor. This is going to be the boost gauge. This will be the AFR, and this is going to be the turbo blow-off valve connection here. This up here goes to your brake booster. So that's going to be taken care of. The one part that I was alluding to that made me have to switch directions is you cannot use a radium rail, or at least the insulators on this thing, and the stock insulators won't work with Deutsch injectors. So you have to buy the rail that's meant for this, which kind of sucks. But good thing is it's kind of cheap, so it's not that big of a deal. About the only other thing I have to say about this intake is you do have to kind of port match your gasket. You can kind of tell where I have. When you get this thing, you're gonna see all these little nubs in here anyway. You're gonna want to clean that crap out. But as you can tell, I've kind of opened up some of the passages. Like this is the cooling passage right here. I had to open up that a bit because it was like a real tiny hole to begin with. Up here, I am going to replace this coolant, this heater hose, the hard one, with an aluminum one that I bought that'll run from the heater connection that goes to the firewall, and the one from the neck, it'll connect this. It'll be a straight line. As you can tell, I have the Gretty block for the oil that gets rid of your oil cooler that there sits on top of here, which is humongous and takes up so much space under here. As you can tell, this has a lot more space than all my other videos. I cleaned up my upper rad hose connection. You can still see that the coolant really chewed this thing up, but these are not easy to get, so that kind of sucks. Now, talk about this. First of all, in order to get this out, you have to be able to press it from the other side and pull it out. You can't even twist this thing out. I mean, I guess I could have heated up the block and then brought it out, but I still have to wait to get a GTR version of this neck anyway, because this hose I will not be connecting, because this one goes to your cooler, comes out of the cooler, comes over to here, it connects there, right there. I'm gonna cap that off. And I bought the rubber caps, but I'm gonna put a piece of aluminum in the head of it so that there's a little bit more holding it there. I'm gonna do it a little bit bigger than this, and it's barely gonna fit in the cap. but this will get blocked off. This will get blocked off. This hose back here that I have bent up, that's your return from your turbo. This little guy right here, and it actually is a big long sucker, and the pipe is right there that comes with the tow. Well, you can't really make out this hose, but there's a hose back here that comes with the Tomei kit. So I'm going to kill this off, and I'm going to use this hose instead for the return. The other problem that I'm running into is the intercooler piping comes up like this right here, right? Your throttle body ends up right about here, and I want to keep my tank. A lot of people come up through the tray and come up here and come over to it. I want to keep my washer bottle, so I bought a U-bend. I'm going to first drag this out further this way. I'm going to U-bend it up, and then I'm going to have to 90 it in. It's going to look kind of janky, but it should work. I mean, I'm not running like 20-30 psi, so it's not a big deal. I have the cool side almost all the way done. I was going to try to go with a 4-inch. As you can tell, this 4-inch is a tight fit. 4-inch, I would say, is meant for top mount turbos. So this is going to go, and I'm going to put a 3-inch in here. So that's going to be all done. Again, Mishimoto radiator's all fixed up. I have the wiring done except for my ground. This is my ground. All this will go in a wrap. And I don't know if everybody saw my other video, but the fusible link for this is right here. This is actually the inhibitor switch bay for that switch. This is not automatic, so there's no need for that port anyway. So this ties into this one, which is the fan right here. So it ties into two of the wires off of this. It's mainly your ignition wire and your coolant sense wire. Then you have one wire that runs from power through a fusible link into the relay, out the relay, and over to the fan. I connected those two separately, and that's what this fusible link is for right here. This is my new Mishimoto fan, is this fusible link here. I used a spade, a generic spade that I think it's a 6mm, I want to believe, that comes up through here, plugs into there. This you can get from Nissan, this you can get from Nissan. So I'm talking about in America, you can get it from Nissan, so don't stress over that crap. Coolant bottles in, all this stuff is in, and the last pieces that I need to work on are actually in here. This is why I have my light on, because my garage has crappy lighting. So let's see if I can get in here without breaking shit. So I have my garage Yoshida bezel that's going to come in here. I also have a short throw shifter that goes in here from GK Tech. I also have the better springs that go on in the transmission. So this is going to not have as much slop. You see all that? That's not going to be there. I mean, you're going to be able to hit it and it's not going to move. That also allows me the Yoshida garage bezel allows me to take this and move it down here, and I'll be 3D printing a panel that goes from here to here that'll have my important gauges, and then down here will be a single DIN radio, because honestly I don't see the need for a dual DIN. I usually use my phone for everything anyway. So the only part about this that usually sucks is you really have to be careful on removing this bezel right here, because as you can tell, it goes all the way over here. And you have to get rid of that. You have to get rid of that. So all this stuff has to be reconnected. And the thing that really sucks is I totally forgot that these 90s Nissans use the 2-prong connector, so I needed to get one of these to install that part of the radio. All the gauges are glow shift. I have them all tied into, I have the wiring harness in the house, but it'll tie into these and then tie into those. And after that, it's just putting the ECU in, which goes in here. My ECU is going to go in here. I'm taking the stock one out. ECU Master Classic is what I'll be using. I'll probably run the USB into a port somewhere in the gauge bezel. Not sure where. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully I'll have this done in the next couple weeks. Until then, stay tuned.